Well, welcome everybody. I am so excited to have Suzanne Lenning here today with us for Your Story Matters conversation. Suzanne is the founder of the Whole Health Way. Her business was ignited as a result of her own chronic health issues, relationship, career, time, and money struggles. Have any of you been there? I know I've been there in almost every one of those points that she shared. She has learned how to change her thinking by removing self-limiting beliefs about herself and her world so she can live the best version of herself. And now she is paying it forward by running her business. So Suzanne is here to share her story, and I'm excited to dive into it. But if you want to elaborate at all in any way and brag about yourself at all, Suzanne, you're more than welcome to do so. But to start off in your story, I definitely want um, to hear kind of like when you realized that something had to make that shift. Like, what was that breaking point within your story that be like, this isn't serving me well anymore? And like we kind of get to that brick wall moment in our lives when we make that big shift, right?
Mhm.
So welcome.
Yeah. Yes. So, there it is. It's all about our thinking and our thoughts. And when I did kind of figure out that everything is created twice, and when I realized it was really in November of 2018 when I was at home and I had a surgery on my hand, on my thumb, and I had a tumor, and it was swollen, a lot of pain, and I'm just sitting there, whiny, and I had 3 months off from work. And I'm a registered nurse and I have a bachelor's degree in nursing. And, all these things just look like everything should be so great for me. But they really weren't, because my thoughts, it was so evident in my results. Um, and in my results, and what does that mean? Really? Okay, so our thoughts, I learned that my thoughts cause my feelings, and my feelings cause my actions or maybe lack of them, and then I have my results. And so I really thought, okay, there's something that has to change here. And then I'm on my phone and computer and using my left hand, and I see this information about, have you ever thought about being a transformational life coach? And at the time, I was going to be opening my business in April and of 2019, and this is November 2018, and I had the brain injury specialty piece, I had the Reiki piece, I had the nursing piece, and I'm like, really want to bring this together with some kind of a certification in coaching. Um, and so I've went to Bible college. I'm ordained as a spiritual minister, and I've been, I'm a believer. All of these things, I feel like I have done. I had done everything that I needed to do to really, expand my life and my purpose. But it wasn't until I got on this call with a program expert with the Brave Thinking Institute, and she asked me, she went through this process of, asking me about my self-development and all these kinds of things. And then she asked me what I would love, what my dream was. And I'd really, really honestly never been asked that in my life. What
Really?
would I love?
Never?
What would I love?
Mm.
Because as a mother and a wife and business owner, and all of the things that I've done in my life up until now, really played that role to support people to get where they would love to be. But I didn't feel that I was good enough. And I had mentioned to you just before we started our session today, I had been doing a lot of cleaning just this last week, and I found this little message that in 1986 that one of my nurse friends was a neighbor, and I had seen a miracle because her husband was saved. He was an alcoholic, and I saw him stop drinking. I saw their
Mm.
family change. And
Yeah.
so she really took me under her wing and supported me. My husband was an alcoholic, and there was a lot of domestic violence. I had 2 children, and I was 22 years old, and just a lot of struggle. And she had put Happy Valentine's Day, and she wrote to a special girl who was always saying she's not good enough. And then she had an equal sign, you are, and she put 2 lines underneath. And then she said, once more, you are by far. God knows that, and I know that. All we have to do now is to teach Susan that. Bless you on this day. And on the back, I wrote, this was 1986. And I wrote, I am never alone. The Lord is always with me. God is not the author of confusion. And, then when I fast forward to, I really feel it's important that I read this story. I have this book out, Short, Sweet, and Sacred.
Oh,
And I'm one of the 52 life coaches in here that share a story of going from stuck to success, or that victim to victory. And but what I found as a result of that conversation, when she asked me what I would love and what my dream was, she repeated it back to me. And I cried and I cried and I cried. But I didn't think that I could be a transformational life coach that would help people. I mean, really, I would love that. I said I would love that. That came from my being and my core. But my self-limiting beliefs about myself and my world, my paradigms, blocked me. But I continued to self-sabotage so that I could continue to give myself the excuses of why I can't have my dream. This is why I can't. And then it was when I learned and I went through the certification of all these wonderful programs, I went through this process myself. You have to be a transformed individual before you can really transform others. And so what I really did through all of these years is I went through a process of learning how to stand firm while my world was shaking. And, I had to go through the dark night, and that this is a hero's journey that we're all on. And we have this opportunity to harvest the good. And we have an opportunity for a new beginning. And what a beautiful weekend to film this, the resurrection, and, he was crucified. He was crucified and he resurrected. And, like so many of us, though, we crucify ourselves and we don't give our opportunity for that resurrection. And in John 10:10, he said, I came so that you might all have what? Life, and life abundantly. Yes. And so when we're grateful for what we have, and when we're in this vibration or in thought process of gratefulness, that's the same vibration as abundance. And so as we know, we have free will. And I was learning all this. I taught Sunday school. I sang in church. I went to a Bible college, and I wanted to be an elementary teacher, changed into a nurse. But I would love to share this story if I would have time.
Yes,
because I wrote this in my Bachelor of Nursing program. I was in a class called Caring. And one of our assignments was to write what it felt like when somebody cared for us. Wow. And so I feel that this is, and then I just recently, this last year, understood how this story has set the theme and the purpose for my life and how it continued on. So I've speckled nursing in there, and I've speckled a couple of different things. So the name of my story is called The Angelic Nurse Who Changes My Life, Susan Wynne from Iowa. Okay. And I'm one of 52 stories in here with my fellow Life Mastery consultants. And I have another book coming out in June talking about my son. So it's early November 1979, and I'm 16 years old. I have a job, meet friends, a boyfriend, and I'm diagnosed as pregnant.
Oh.
I'm planning a wedding for November to marry my 20-year-old boyfriend. I have quite the attitude, despite the curveball that I'm going to be just fine and that I really don't need help from anyone. One Sunday afternoon after church, I start to feel lower abdominal pain and begin vomiting green material. I expect it to go away, but it continues to happen often. Now, my mother, who of course is not very pleased with the outcome of her pregnant daughter, is not very understanding. Mom states, "Don't make such a big deal about it. If you think this is bad, just wait." I proceed to get worse with more and more pain. My mom takes me to my doctor in Minnesota, and he decides to admit me to the hospital, but unsupportively states, "Stop hyperventilating. It can't be that bad." So basically, I'm picking up that nobody has compassion or sympathy for a pregnant 16-year-old. I just feel so low. The treatment theory continues, and as I am admitted to the obstetrics floor, the admitting nurse states very judgmentally as she frowns, "Oh, so now you're pregnant." After that, they get me situated. They painfully make 16 attempts to start an IV before they call the paramedics. There are no apologies or any explanations for the trauma that I'm experiencing. To say I feel overwhelmed is an understatement. So for the next 5 days, every 4 hours, they give me this hypo shot to settle me down. I can't eat or drink anything. On Friday night, my doctor walks by my room as I'm experiencing another vomiting session. My doctor can see that this isn't getting any better, so he sets me up with an assessment with a surgeon. It's on a Friday night. So 5 minutes into the appointment, he shares, "We're going to do exploratory surgery." They get to work, and he leans forward and he says, "I'm going to try and save one person instead of losing two." I get to work and I'm being prepared for this emergency surgery. I am so terrified. My whole body is shaking as I think about what is going to happen. Is everything going to be okay? So as I groggily wake up after the surgery, I ask if the baby is all right. And I'm reassured that everything is fine. I have been transferred to the surgery floor after a much needed salpingo oophorectomy. It turns out my ovary and my fallopian tube were twisted and full of fluid, much like an appendix ready to rupture. My ovary was found to be the size of a kidney, and my fallopian tube was the size of a banana, full of infectious material ready to be dispersed throughout my entire body. The doctor tells me that I probably would have died later that night without the surgery. So after the surgery, I'm weak and the nurses have to help me with my basic needs. The surgery nurses are not talking to me except while they're rolling me over and continuing to make me cough and breathe and stating, "Just stop your whining about how much you hurt and do this." Oh, I feel so alone and ashamed. And then one morning, this small blonde nurse walks in. She stands out as being different. She calls me by my first name. She approaches me with a smile. She respects my choices and she gives me a bath and a back rub. So during our time together, she picks up on how all I want to do is get better, get married, and raise children. She lovingly visits with me and she tells me about how important she feels it is to finish school and to pursue a career. She says, "It's helpful in case anything happens to your husband and you'd have a way to take care of yourself." And I'm starting to feel like she's intruding on my independence. until she reluctantly shares that her husband, a deputy sheriff, had been murdered on the job about 5 months prior. My heart sinks. So she goes on to disclose that if she did not have her education and job, it would have been so much harder for her to adjust. I know I'll never forget her, what she is saying, and how it feels to be treated with such compassion during this difficult time in my life. I start to detach my anger and what I have been going through, and I start to feel this true healing. Years later, in 1996, my mother has a hysterectomy surgery in the same hospital and on the same floor that I was on. I drive 500 miles to be with my mother. After arriving at the hospital, I asked the nurses if the nurse from my own surgery is still working there. And I share why I'm interested in talking with her. The nurses are delighted to contact her for me. The next afternoon, I hear the phone ring in my mother's room at the hospital, and I pick up the phone. And it's my nurse. I explained, many years ago, you changed a young girl's heart. And I give her a description of myself and my life today. I go on to tell her how I have 3 children. I live in Iowa. I'm a registered nurse and I'm working on my Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So with joy, I share about how every time I work with a patient, I feel a responsibility to earn their trust because of the positive impact that can be made to change a person's life. She starts crying because she's overwhelmed with what I've shared. She is humbled and so grateful to hear she made a difference. Because really all she did, Stacy, was listen and care about my outcome in life. But you see, that was everything to me. And, I'm 16 years old. And what she said to me at the bedside while I was going through that, I had so much anger. But I was wondering how I'm laying in this hospital bed and I'm wondering, how did my ovary get to be the size of a large kidney and my fallopian tube get to be the size of a large banana? And it's because of the self-hate. I was so ashamed. I had this movie going, playing in my subconscious constantly that I wasn't good enough. I let everybody down. I was ashamed. My mom and dad were telling me, of course, they didn't want this for their daughter. They did everything that they could do to prevent that for their daughter. And so I felt that my resources or my options for the rest of my life and what I'd love to do was over because I made a decision. I got pregnant. So therefore, I cannot do what I would love. So I've carried this and I've had a lot of, I've had 2 divorces, I've had miscarriages, domestic abuse, sexually exploited, all because I didn't think I was good enough and I couldn't do this. But I learned in my training that what's inside me is so much greater than anything that's outside of me. These conditions, these circumstances, the things around me, and my light and my purpose and my dream that God gave me. And he put me here at this certain time. And I'm going to be 59 years old on Tuesday.
Oh, happy
And
birthday.
thank you. And I'm so grateful. And my beautiful daughter will be 42 years old in June. And she has 3 of my gorgeous grandchildren. And so she's the precious redheaded, beautiful daughter that I was pregnant with in that story.
Oh.
But you see, it was so important for me to go through this dark night because that had everything to do with the role, so to speak, that it played in my evolution.
Mm.
And how important is it for us to know and understand what people that we want to serve and help, have gone through, or really what the messages are that they're telling themselves or that other people have told them.
Yeah.
So I had it, my ex-husbands were not supportive of me. And so here I am. I have a bachelor's degree in nursing, and I've accomplished such wonderful things. But, I didn't have that confirmation from them. And they told me that I needed them in order for me to do anything. So I kept myself in those paradigms, those self-limiting beliefs,
Right.
and those negative thoughts. And so then that I created dis-ease, thyroid problems, celiac disease, and the list goes on and on.
Mm.
And so my mental thoughts, my spiritual life was bankrupt.
Mm.
So what I really learned is that how I can serve in my purpose, becoming all of these things and all these academics. And I became an actress also. That was another one of my dreams. And just to know that when the darkness comes, it's not if. We've all had the dark night. We're going through one right now, or we will.
Yes.
And these are the things to understand and learn about yourself. And I have these brave thinking tools, if you will. I've got this great big toolbox of all these things with my experience and my training, and to help support people with, where they're at. So I just wondered, do you have any questions up until now?
No, like you almost had me in tears a few times. It's amazing what compassion can do for somebody, right? Like there, when I hear your story, there's when you're struggling with that with family and they're trying to have you fall into line in their ideas for your future and the way your life should roll out, like that's your parents' ideologies. and
Yes.
and back in that time, I'm sure they were thinking like, what are other people going to think of me if my teenage daughter's pregnant, and like it's going to affect me more than they weren't really considering you necessarily. I'm just assuming, because like my mom, we had a interesting growing up, but with lots tongue-tied, lots of alcoholism and drug addiction and different things like that growing up for myself. And there was this one season of like I was self-harming and I had no idea that I was even doing it. I would just be in such a dark pit that I would just lay down and I would start crying that would turn into hyperventilation, and I would pass out like that because I was so overwhelmed with everything that was going on that I would black out, and then I'd wake up and I would have pills in my room and blood all over my sheets because I had just finished cutting myself, and I had no idea that I was even doing these things. It was like those things weren't in my room when I would lay down and start crying, and then they were there when I came to and realized, like, what did I just do? Like, I had no idea what I was doing. And so I went to my school counselor at that time and I was like, I need help. And they're like, well, we need your parental consent, because I was like 15, 14 maybe. And I said, well, if you call my parents, they're going to tell you everything's okay at home. But I'm telling you, if I don't get help, I might not ever, like, I don't know what I'm doing and I have no control. And that's the scariest place to be, is when you black out and you have no control of what you're doing. Like I was harming myself and I had no control over it. And which seems really weird because you think that you'd have control. Like, why are you doing those things? I have no idea. Like, but my body, like my whole entire being was just like, I wanted out, and I didn't know how to escape this trap, this cage that I was in. So when I seeked out the help, the counselor was so gracious. She went out of her way, broke all the rules to meet with me. She would even follow up with me over the summer months to see how I was doing outside of the school years. And um, to this day, that I can't even remember her name, sadly, but to this day, I can still see a picture of her face. And I am just like so grateful for her stepping outside of all the rules and regulations to at least just share some compassion and just listen and help guide me through some of the darkest days of my life. Because those people that come into our path, they sow those seeds of hope and ignite the idea that, hey, life can be a little bit different. We don't have to just follow under the same umbrella of our generational stuff.
Yeah.
I just did not want to continue to live a life moving forward the same way I was raised up in. And so I became a little rebellious and started swimming upstream.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what's so great, that somebody responded to you in your time of need.
Yes.
And in A Course in Miracles, I don't know if you know about that study, but it's so amazing that and that comes up in what I study, that it comes down to two things that I've learned to understand. That love is, you're either expressing love or it's a call for love. You're either expressing love or you're putting out a call for love. And our call for love, pretty unskilled. And you think about it when the kids, they're wanting to get attention and stuff, but you see, this is what we were doing. And that was not something that they, was always the life of the party. I was always dancing and singing and these kinds of things. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because kind of full circle with my story. There's this movie here that I did this in 2009 or 2010. And it's quite a story, but it was my dream. I had always wanted to be an actress. So when I was 16 and I was picking rock on the farm in Minnesota, I told my mom and my dad, I'm going to be an actress someday, and I'm going to be on the silver screen. They didn't really laugh, but yeah, Susan, yeah, you betcha, I'm Norwegian. Anyway, so I just want to, it's kind of like one of my signature stories, but again, with not thinking that I'm enough, this was, the movie going on in my, but I knew that that was something that I wanted to do. That was a dream of mine. And this is what we have in ours. So, just kind of to share that, I talk to my clients and I share with them about how important it is to invest in themselves and to really understand the importance of their longing, their discontent, the mistrust of their self, all these kind of things, because I said their dream is in there. And I said, we just got to go a little bit deeper in there. And so, and to help everybody understand, guess what? Our history doesn't determine our future or our destiny at all. Our history does not determine our destiny. And this is where I was stuck. I'm like, well, I got pregnant, I screwed up. So, that verse in John 10:10 is like, I came so that all may have abundance except for Susan Lunning, no. But you see, that's how I perceived it. No, but I knew there was a choice, but I didn't really know there was a choice.
Right.
Because I didn't feel that, I even qualified as a human. That's how distorted we get things, isn't it? And so my discontent was that I always had wanted to be an actress. Always, that was something that was always in me. I was born in California, and wanted to be on the big screen. And so, like I told you, I told my parents, I'm going to be on the big screen. You're going to see me on the big screen one day. And so then that's when I was 16 years old. That was in the summer of 16, when I was 16 years old. And then I got pregnant, I believe it was October of that year of 1979. And so, but I had said this earlier, I'm going to be an actress. I'm going to, like I talked about those dreams, all those dreams. I'm like, can't have any of that now. I'm pregnant. I ruined it. I'm done.
Oh, okay. So you push them
And
aside.
so, yes. And so fast forward to 2010, I was offered an audition for a movie. I'm like, no, this isn't the right time. I have a broken foot. I'm fat. I'm depressed. I haven't done any photos. I've never done a movie. Nope. My personal trainer said, well, that's too bad. I set up the audition for you at 5:00 tomorrow at Glen Oaks Clubhouse. And I said, oh, no, you didn't. And he said, yep. He said, when you come in here, you change the energy and you would be perfect for what they're looking for. And I said, well, I'm not going, whatever and stuff. But I did end up going. I had told my ex-husband, I said, well, I don't want to go to this movie audition thing. And he said, well, I think you should go. And I said, well, fine. If you think I should go, then you take me. And and I loved it. And so, like I said, my personal trainer, he set up the audition. And I wasn't ready. I didn't want to go. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm fat. I'm depressed. I got a broken foot, all these things. I'm too busy. But what I discovered is that I did this improv audition that they had me do. And it was so awesome and so fun. And everybody laughed. I thought, okay, I don't care if I don't get a part. I just got to talk about myself and make people laugh for an hour. And I didn't have to pay anybody. And so I was. So my dream was realized, Stacy, in May of 2010, when my parents saw their daughter star in a movie on the big screen.
Oh,
and all of my family and all my friends. And it was the same weekend that my baby, my third child, graduated from high school.
Wow.
And so it was a miraculous weekend. We had, I can really go on to that, but from there, that helped me get enough confidence because I won Best Supporting Actress for that movie.
Way to go.
And this is on Amazon. You can buy this on Amazon. And the movie is called Fortnite. Do you believe that? Fortnite.
I've seen that movie on Amazon, and I thought it was always about the video game. So now that I know you're in it, I am going to go watch it.
Yeah, it is a comedy, and it has quite a wonderful message. And I have all of my clients watch this movie, so they see this is where my journey started, and they saw where I was in the depths of my depression. And how I did it anyway. I was scared and I did it anyway. On the way here to this interview, my client called me and she said, Susan, you're not going to believe this, but I am really out of my comfort zone. I am scared. I am ready to throw up. I know it's my paradigms, but I'm doing it scared.
Doing it anyway. That's right. You have
and
to.
so I tell the story. Yes. And then that led for me to be in more movies. Then I got an acting coach and, and so then this is what really helped lead me into being a life mastery consultant. But you see, I had to go through that dark night. Yeah. I had to do it scared with what I loved in order for me to show my clients and be a role model that this is where I was, but that was then, and this is now. And, it's just so, you just fear. What is fear? False evidence appearing real. It's excitement without the breath. And, so I have all these wonderful things that I'm doing now, but I continue to grow every day. I study, I meditate, I pray, just to get myself grounded and keep myself balanced, my
That's right.
health and well-being, my love and relationships, my career,
Mhm.
creative expression, how I show up in the world and make money
That's right. It's
in
so
my time.
important to not give up on your dreams. I'm so
Mhm.
glad that you kept that seed in your heart so that you could fulfill it. And it's quite an accomplishment when we have those seeds in our heart and we don't just burn them up or toss them aside. Like, we actually can cultivate them and water them. Um, Sadly, there's so many women in this world that just give up on their dreams because of these life circumstances that pop in. Some are controlled, some are not controlled, but they pop in, and then we put ourselves aside, and then we just give up on ourselves, and that is not what we're here. We're created for a purpose and on purpose, and it's not just
Mhm.
to fall in line with the masses. You have something inside of you, each and every single one of you. You were created. There's no molds, my friends. We are all uniquely designed by our creator, and he has a plan and a purpose for your life. It's not a waste. The things that have happened, as traumatic as they may be, they are things that have happened to you. They are not who you are. And we can overcome them and rise above them, just like Susan has shared. Like, she's been through domestic violence, she's had miscarriages. That's a great deal of loss. Some women have a really hard time recovering over those circumstances. I've had a loss. I have two children in heaven. I've had an abortion, which I'm not super proud of, but I've forgiven myself for. And I've also had a miscarriage, and it was extremely difficult. And
Mhm.
I I d- and I go through we go through these things just like you have, so that you can understand the people that God is calling you to work with, to help them ignite these dreams within their hearts. Because, hey, like, you're on a movie. It was a dream that was put in your heart since you were a teenager, and now you get to say, like, hey, this is what I've done, and it's been like amazing. It lights you up, and it just gives you the strength and endurance to take on the next dream, to take on the next
Mhm.
thing that God puts in your path, because our lives are not to be wasted. We are not here just to coast. We have to always be checking in with our hearts, because our God created that, and he has definitely given us something in there to be aspired to give back to the world, right? So good
Mhm.
that you're doing what you're doing, and that you've pressed forward and reached some amazing things and accomplished some amazing things. You're an author and a movie star, like, and you run this coaching business. So tell the members here, as you have been able to do this self-reflection, doing the deep healing work, to get your mind right, to be able to come into this coaching space, because you had also shared that it was a bit of a struggle. You're like, I don't think this
Oh,
is, something that was for me. Like, how can I help somebody else? Right. So coming into this space,
mhm.
and then how is it that you serve your clients? I would say with great
Mhm.
compassion. I can see
Mhm.
that.
Yes. Oh, and it was a lot of fun too. This pin that I have on, and a word that you said, ignite. And that's what I do. I have core values. I have all sorts of wonderful things that I do to support my being each day. But this pin, I wear this with so much pride because this reminds me to ignite the fire of the dream.
Mm,
And I created this business as an opportunity, to create the life I love. But I'm doing exactly what I love and I'm good at,
mm,
and helping others to love themselves and be good at what they do.
mhm,
And believing in them, loving them and believing in them until they believe in loving themselves. Yes, I am very, very compassionate. But one of the things that came up right away, I invested in myself. I was scared to death because, I was off of work. I had no money. And that was a story I told myself and everybody else, because in my last divorce, I lost everything that I had built and as worked as a nurse and everything. So I did, and I left it. I had to leave it if I wanted to live. It was just that simple. And, but so then I had to go back down to just myself and not cooking for others and caring for others. And I had an opportunity of a man that helped get me out of this situation, who spent $100,000 just to get me out. He saw a light in me and he saw an opportunity to help save me. And the results, and then it's come full circle to where I help serve him too. But I just didn't believe that I could do. How am I going to do this? How? And one of the main things that I learned, Stacy, was to put the how on hold. Write down your heart's desire. What would you love? Be grateful. Do what you can with where you're at, with what you have. And I put myself in a structure of support because I need guidance on my journey, because I'm going to have obstacles and I'm going to have challenges, and I didn't want them to stop me. And someone who I could reach out to. And that's what I got with this. I got the answer. I wrote down what I would love, and I noticed things started shifting. And I'm doing this work and things start shifting. And then all of a sudden I have clients. And, I had to learn so many things about myself to keep myself balanced. And to keep myself and to clear myself and their energy, because I'm also an empath. So I took on everybody's pain and problems. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know how you feel, yeah, but I've been there. But what the main thing that they all say, and something neat that I'm doing now, is every week I have a 30-minute show on BPN, and I'm creating a billboard that'll be on Times Square for the Whole Health Way. And my clients are sharing their story of what it was like to coach with me and how they had their dream as a result of coaching with me. Yeah. So all I did was love them and believe in them and listen. Remember, that's what that nurse did. She cared about my outcomes. Yeah. And she listened. And then I got certified in this process that is proven, and it's reliable, that if you work it, it'll work. And so I help support them, as I said, we're going to go through this together. Right. We're just going to do it together. That's you right. Have the support, you can reach out to me. And so I don't really know if I answered your question, but what I found is that, then I really did believe in my dream, and I had people believing in me and loving me before I believed in me and loved myself. Yeah. That's what the key is. I held on to their belief. She thinks I can do it. Well, and one of the neat things is, and that I have my clients do, that I was told to do, okay, so have you ever accomplished anything in your life where it was really tough and you never thought that you'd ever get it done or ever do it or ever achieve that dream? And boy, by golly, I could write down all the things that I had achieved. So every time when I was feeling like I was worthless and not enough, like, Elena wrote, not who always says she's not enough. I look at that list. Well, I'm a badass. I did that.
That's awesome. I love that. I've actually done that with clients as well, creating a success journal, like making sure to take an inventory of the things that they have accomplished. Because when you're going through the storms, like you said at the beginning of our conversation here, is that it's
Mhm.
not if you'll go through the storm, it's when, because we'll all have storms and they'll be frequent flying miles throughout our life, right? They're going to come and go in waves
Yes.
of different seasons. But
Mhm.
when you're in that storm, it's really important to be able to remind yourself of all of your accomplishments, because if you get stuck in the fact of that adversity and you're facing it, for the 12th time, it might be something completely different, but it's that dark night of the soul yet again coming around, like rolling around the mountain, like over and over, right? We tend to beat ourselves up and be like, well, look at you, you're just this, and we start tapping into the failure mindset, or like you're not good enough mindset. But it's important to remind yourself of all that you have accomplished, right? So important.
And it's so beautiful, and it'll just become such a habit, and your light is so bright. And my clients say, I know I can do this because you did it. I know it. Look at you. And so many people that didn't know my story, they would, they thought I've always been this way. I've always been this happy. I've always been this confident.
Yeah.
No, I said, I have not. Oh, tell me more. Well, okay, I'm glad you asked, but be ready for this. And then people, then they can't believe it. Well, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Well, you put the how on hold. You do what you can with where you're at with what you have, but you utilize all the tools that you have at your disposal. And when you're grateful for what you have, where you're at, you know, and being proud of something that moves the energy. When you're grateful for something, then you're proud. I am so
Mhm.
proud that I accomplished this today. I am so glad that I said yes to this calling. And that's what this is a calling. We're called for our dream. Each one of us are.
Yeah.
We're called, and I answered the call, and it didn't mean that it was going to be easy. And it didn't come at the right time either. It never does.
No.
You never have the money, you never have the time, you never have the energy, you never have the house, you never have the relationship. And that's why we come from our dream. We let go of all of these things that we've built up in front of us to block our healthy spinning energy and our light. We've blocked our light. When I was a little girl, I'd sing, hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. And that's what I ended up doing. I hid it under a bushel. I didn't want to shine because it hurt too much.
Yeah. Or just
People
the
were jealous of
fear.
me. They were
Yeah.
mean.
Or they were just the fear of
So,
being rejected if you were to really truly show your authentic self, right? That was my
yes.
big
And
thing.
then,
It's like I'm going to be rejected if
yes.
I show up the way I want to show up, not the way everybody else wants you to show up.
Oh, yes. And what I learned and why it was so huge, why God wanted me to be an actress, because He knew I was going to learn that I can be authentic in real and imaginary circumstances. So when
Mm.
I played all these roles and I went on to do these 48-hour film projects, I tied for Best Actress out of 52 films in Des Moines.
Good job.
That is being authentic in real and imaginary circumstances. I had a lot of things in my toolbox that I could pull from to create that role, but you're in character. You think like that person, you act like that person, and you stay in that energy. And
Mm.
so that served me because then I could go back to where I was.
Mm.
See, a lot of times when we play these roles, we get stuck in those roles and we can't get out of them.
Mm.
And that's where the energy can change with support. You're navigating on this journey. You're
Mhm.
navigating. And everybody has just got this sign on themselves that says, make me feel special.
Mm.
Everything is an expression of love. or a call for love.
That's right. That's right. Oh, this has been so, so, so good, Susan. So just, I
Oh,
know we are at our tap. So if anybody here is hearing your story and be like, oh, I want to know more of how I can get in touch with Susan and see how she can help me unlock and nurture and water my dreams, how do the members here get a hold of you, love?
well, I have a website that you can go to and you can schedule a consultation, a 1 hour call or Zoom, and I will help you to unpack your dream, what you would love in your health and well-being, your love and relationships, your vocation, your time and money freedom. And if we're a good fit, then we will talk about the next steps. If you're willing to do that or not, is that dream important enough? If you're not willing to take the next move. And through all of this experience, I've learned to charge what I'm worth, because I know that coaching with me, you will get your dream if you believe in you and
That's
you
great.
do these things.
Mhm.
I'm not cheap, but I'm not over expensive either. And that's where the paradigm is. Oh, I wonder how much she charges. And that's what you look at. Oh, that's not my budget. Oh, gotta ask my wife. I gotta ask my husband. I can't do this. I don't have the money. Oh, yes, you do. So thewholehealthway.com. And you can go to the Whole Health Way. It's all spelled out, THEWHOLE, health, HEALTHWAY.com/gift. And you can watch a webinar that I did that will kind of prepare you to help you to understand this language of success that I work with. And I do speaking. If you would love for me to speak to your group, I can do that. I could do workshops, whatever it is that I can do to help raise the vibration in your community. And there's an opportunity to schedule that also. But go in and schedule your time. There's a short questionnaire. And then let's just get together and see what we can do.
Sounds lovely. Well, thank you ever so very much, Suzanne. So definitely, I'll put your website here in the video. If you see it, just copy it into your browser to go and get your free consultation to see if what Susan has to offer, if you guys are even a good fit or vibe together, because it's
Right.
important that you connect with your coach or mentor so that you will do the steps that are being asked of you. So it's important that you have that alignment. So definitely book that consultation with Suzanne so that you can see if she's a good fit for you to help you reach your dreams. So thank you once again, love, for just coming and being so authentic and vulnerable and just sharing your story of just some of the highs and lows. And I'm so grateful that you have taken all of this painful past and now you're able to put it into purpose and ignite all of the hearts and dreams of other women in this world. So thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate you.
Oh, I received that. Thank you so much.